All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and go over finding the equation of a line given a graph. We have our instructions over here. Find the equation of each line. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 graphed on here. I color coded them so that we can tell which one's which. And then over here, I also have y equals mx plus b. This is going to be the simplest format to put the equation of the line in. Basically, we have m, which is our slope. Our slope, also known as our rate of change, our change in y, or our change in x, which is our rate of change. And then we have b, which is our y-intercept. Physically, the line, that's where the line crosses the y-axis. How about let's just jump in? So let's do this first. Let's do this red line, this red graph here. Let's go, we'll call that number 1. We'll say number 1 here. There's 2 pieces I have to find. I have to find my slope and I have to find my y-intercept. Typically, the easiest thing to find is going to be our y-intercept. If I look here, our y-intercept for this line happens when I cross this y-axis. And you know what? I should probably label that. This is our y-axis. So I'm just looking at where this line crosses this axis right here. And it just so happens that happens right here. So that value is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That value is 8. So my y-intercept for this specific line, my b, is equal to 8. Let me get rid of this because we're going to do a little some slope triangles here in a second. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to identify 2 really nice points. This is one of those really nice points. It crosses one of these little tiny intersections that we see here. And it's going to allow us to calculate our rate of change, our change in y, and then our change in x. Another really nice point, if I come across the line here, would be right here. Now what I'm going to do is using my left-hand point first, I'm going to count up until I'm horizontal with the next point, and then I'm going to count over until I hit that this right hand point. So I'm going to count up. That would be 1. So I'm going to draw a line that goes up. When it went up, plus 1 unit. And then I'm going to go over, and that's going to be plus 3 units. Now something that we have to remember is that this is my change in y. I'm moving up or down here, and this right here is going to be my change in x. Change in x. So when I write m equals, I'm thinking of this as my change in y over my change in x, and this happened to be 1 over 3. So I have all the missing pieces that I need to fill in for this y equals mx plus b format for a line. So I'm going to write it in. I'm just going to fill in the pieces. This is y. And you know what? Let's make this a little bit thinner. This is going to be y equals 1/3 x plus 8. This right here is the equation of that red line right there. Okay. Let's try the next one. Let's do this green line down here. Let's call this equation number 2. Put a 2. Let's do this one on the side here. Okay, first thing I'm gonna identify is my y-intercept. That's my b. So I'm just thinking, where is this line? I'm gonna cross this y-axis. It's gonna happen right here. That point is gonna be 1, 2. It's gonna be positive 2. So I'm gonna come over here I'm going to write down b equals positive 2. The next thing I'm going to find is my m, which is equal to my change in y divided by my change into x. So I'm thinking I'm going to find another nice point. I can go backwards, I can go left, I can go right. Doesn't really matter. I like to always move right. And if I move along this line, I do find a nice point right here as well as right here. It actually doesn't matter which one I pick. It'll work out to be the same thing, the same rate of change. So I'm going to pick this one right here. It's the next nicest point. I go up or down first. I go down till I'm horizontal. I went down 1 unit. So because I went down, I'm going to call that -1. And this is my change in y. And then I went over 2 units, +2. That right there is my change in x. So I come over here. My change in y was -1. My change in x is +2. So now when I write my equation, I got y equals -1/2 x plus 2. And that is the equation of my green line. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that there. Let's get rid of that. And now let's go ahead and try and find the equation of that orange line that we have there. Let's see if I can switch this to orange. Okay, very good. Again, everything works exactly the same way. We'll call this number 3. So for number 3, I have, I'm going to find my b, which is my y-intercept. This happens right here, which is down 1 from the origin. So my b equals -1. My m is going to equal my change in y divided by my change in x, which we're going to have to calculate. Again, that's a really nice point to use right there. There's another nice point right here. How about this time I find one that's back left here. I'm going to look at instead, and I know it doesn't look like it. We're going to assume it crosses right there, that's a pretty nice point. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to work my way left to right. So I'm going to start from this furthest left point. This one's to the right, this one's to the left. And I'm going to come down until I'm horizontal. I went down 1 unit, that's -1. That's my change in y. And then this right here is going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4. That's +4. We're going to call this our change in x. So my change in y was -1. My change in x is +4. I now have all the pieces I need to be able to write my equation as y equals -1/4 x minus 1. And done. We have one more line. It's all the way down here. We are going to go ahead and call this number 4. And then you guys, you're more than welcome to pause the video if you would like and see if you guys can come up with the equation of that line on your own. And then restart the video and watch me do it and see if we end up with the same result. We're going to do the same thing as we did before. We're going to start off with number 4. And we're going to find our y-intercept. Our y-intercept happens when this line crosses this vertical axis, this y-axis. From the origin, I am 1. That happens right here. And I am 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. -7 away. So this is b equals -7. And now I just have to find another nice point that lies on this graph. So I'm going to work my way this way. Keep going, keep going, keep going. It looks like it's either here or here. As long as you locate the point, there's no big, it's not a big deal. In this case, this line, I'm going to go up 1 unit. That's +1. And this is again my change in y. Whenever I I shift up and down, we call that our change in y. Versus when we move left or right, we call that our change in x. And I'm going to move over all the way until I hit this point. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's plus 9 units. That's our change in x. So for our slope, that's m, that equals change in y over change in x, which is equal to 1 divided by 9. So I'm going to leave this as y equals my m, which is 1/9, x minus 7, which is my y-intercept. All right. I do want to go over a common misconception, and I'm going to go right back up to this orange line here in a second. Let's see. Something that I saw or that I typically see students do is I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these pieces. And that right there. Typically what I tend to see students do is they'll take a look at this and they'll say, okay, that's my y-intercept, that's -1. This is my x-intercept, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, that's -3. And students want to write it like this. They want to say y equals -3x minus 1. Now, one part of that is correct. This right here is correct. The problem is this -3, this x-intercept, this does not represent the x-intercept. This right here represents our slope, which is equal to our change in y over our change in x. We have to take that point, count down, and go over, and our change in y, which was -1, and our change in x, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, +4, this would equal -1 divided by 4, which coincides with what we had before. Don't fall into the trap that thinking that because there's an x here, that the number in front of that, the coefficient we call it, is going to be our x-intercept. Make sure you understand that this number represents slope, which is change in y over change in x. And I'm sure I'm getting annoying repeating that over and over again, but that's really what it is. I don't have any more examples for you guys here. You can always go to, let me take you there, desmos.com. And you guys can go ahead and I think I showed you this in a different video. Have your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, somebody type in some numbers for the slope and the y-intercept, and you can go ahead and they can close that off, and you can try and find the equation of the line from the graph if you guys want to work with this, or just the internet has tons and tons of examples. In any case, hopefully that helps. Let me know if it doesn't, and we'll go ahead and go over some more examples. Have a good one.